the years, there have been technological advances and new drugs that have provided people with solutions to their problems. People can abort pregnancies they do not want or are not ready to have. Many other things have become possible because of these advances in technology. Technology is helpful, but it also raises bioethical issues such as cloning, abortion, designer babies, and much more. Another bioethical issue that is developed is the extension of human life. Humans used to live 35 or 40 years on average in the U.S., but now we live almost 80. Should we be able to extend our lives? After intense research, I am able to tell you of all the problems we will have in the world by choosing to extend the lives of humans. Hopefully my speech will persuade you to feel differently about the measures we are taking to extend our lives. I hope you will see this topic from a different perspective and decide what you feel is right. I will now explain how distributing these life-extending drugs can be a problem. The human population growth of the last century has been very drastic. As you can see on this chart, from 1901 to 1996, the human population has increased drastically. It was from 1901, it was less than 2 million people, and then it increased in 1996 to more than 11 million people. It required only 40 years after 1950 for the population to double from 2.5 billion to 5 billion. This doubling time is less than the human lifetime. The world population passed 6 billion just before the end of the 20th century. Humans living longer will compound population problems such as expanding poverty and damaging the environment. The more people that will be living, the more resources that will be consumed. One must ask themselves, what is better, quantity of life or quality of life? I, for one, do not want to live in poverty, be hungry, or homeless due to lack of resources. The wish to extend the human lifespan has a long tradition in many cultures. The most obvious moral problem is the already existing unequal death. People in poor and less fortunate countries die because they cannot afford resources. The poor people are not given the same opportunities as rich people because they do not have the money for medical treatment or proper nutrition for their bodies. Statistics show us that families with a low income have a shorter lifespan. In a number of African countries south of the Sahara, life expectancy is less than 40 years. The average lifespan in rich and developed countries is 70 to 80 years. How can we justify trying to extend the lives of those who have more already? Poor people cannot afford the drug, so they will die, and the rich people will live on. Life extension efforts are hoarded by the rich. Health problems will still be present, and accidents will happen. People will continue to exhibit signs of aging, even though they are living longer. People will be kept alive for years in terrible health, sometimes beyond the point at which they wish to live. Certain drugs that are given to keep you alive sometimes makes you more sick than you were to start with. You are still on your way to dying, but now it is making you live with your disease or problem longer. For example, chemotherapy can cause you to be extremely weak and sick. Also, there is not a 100% chance that it will even save you. By taking the life-extending measures, one is extending longevity, not health. I would like to ask individuals who believe in life extension measures one question. Who are they to say when their lives are over? I believe God, our Creator, has already decided when it is our time to go. Job 14:5 says, "Man's days are determined, you've decreed the number of his months and sets limits he cannot exceed." As far as overpopulation goes, people might argue that technology spurred on by commerce will provide solutions through improved agriculture, easier access to food, and better use of space resources. People also argue that even though they are choosing to live longer, the option is theirs. If people live 200 to 300 years and get tired of it, they will always have the option of dying. Death would not be forced upon them. They would not be forced to die unless they got in a car wreck, got shot, got stabbed, or got murdered. Since I know statistically one person dies every 15 minutes in a car-related accident every day, I do not believe those life-extending measures will prevent the chances of you dying that way. If you do the math, approximately 96 people die in one day from a car wreck. So I guess you can only live longer if you were lucky. So should the U.S. government be allow drug companies to create these drugs? And should the medical community be allowed to administer the drugs? I believe drug companies will continue to create them, and they will still be distributed to anyone who wants them. How far are we willing to go, though? If you are taking a drug for high blood pressure, it is one thing, because without taking those pills, there are other things you can do to stay alive. For example, a better diet, exercise, and weight loss. However, if you have a terminal illness, you should have the choice of taking measures to extend your life because sometimes you cannot help it. The government should make it harder for people to gain access to drugs they could make it without. Instead of doctors just writing prescriptions for everything, maybe they should try to inform and encourage people to change their lifestyles if they can help it. I feel that in today's society, people just take drugs for everything instead of having to work to make themselves healthier. However, I personally feel we could be using some of that money to do something different. The sale of purported anti-aging products such as nutrition, physical fitness, skincare, hormone replacements, vitamins, supplements, and herbs is a lucrative global industry, with the U.S. market generating about $50 billion of revenue each year. Some medical experts state that the use of such products has not been proven to affect the aging process, and many claims regarding the efficiency of these marketed products have been roundly criticized by medical experts, including the American Medical Association. However, many people say it is their life and body and they should be able to do what they want with it. 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20 says, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own, you were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." That quote from the Bible clearly states that God owns our bodies, and it is not our decision to do whatever we want with it. Life extension is not a new idea for humans. Look at our past. From avoiding predators to developing antibiotics, we have always sought to extend our lives. The extension of life causes too many problems to be worth it. It is not your decision to make. Acts 17:26 says, "From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands." In other words, God is in control of our lives, not us. Hopefully my speech gave you some insight on some problems life-extending drugs cause. It is very important to do your own research and come up with your own personal beliefs. Do not just go by what other people say. The government today tries to put ideas in our heads about certain topics, and it is important to become educated on some things that are going on around us. Thank you.